That was fun.
So there's a little bit to see about the old hotels, motels, really, not even hotels. So now the fun part, the extra fun part for me is to talk to Sarah Wharton. Our yarn artist for this tour is Sarah from Less Traveled Yarns, and she created a little behind the scenes video for us, and then we get to talk to her.
Hi, I'm Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us for a sneak peek behind the scenes of Less Traveled Yarn. This is how we take an assortment of dyes and bare yarn and turn them into gorgeous yarn ready for your needles and hooks. Start with water, which when combined with heat brings the dyes to life. I have hundreds of dyes and they all play an important role in at least one of our colorways. The dye and the yarn go into the pot and we bring it to a simmer. Then it sits overnight to cool and soak up all of the dye. After that, it gets thoroughly washed and then hung to dry. Drying times vary depending on the time of year as well as the yarn base and the current weather. In the summertime, yarn will usually dry within a day. However, the rest of the year it takes at least 3 days. Once the yarn is dry, we begin twisting. Catherine does an amazing job making these skeins look gorgeous. From here, the yarn either goes to one of our local yarn store partners like Fuzzy Goat, to a designer dreaming up a collaboration design, or onto our website for our wonderful retail customers. Collaborating with designers is one of my favorite things, and we even self-published a book last year. This is one of the 17 designs that were chosen for our book, called Handmade. We've done so many amazing collaborations with some of the most talented designers in the industry, and it is incredibly rewarding. Thank you so much for all of your support over the years. It's been truly a pleasure making yarn for you.
Well, hey, Sarah.
Hi.
Let's see. I was going to
both spotlighted. Yes.
spotlight. All right. Perfect. Thank you, Sarah, for that little video. We really appreciate that. I've just loved carrying your yarns and working with your yarns, and then being able to fit in the box has just been a real delight. So we've got some questions we want to ask you. So just kind of, how'd you get started dyeing into yarn? You've said that you've done some things before and now you're doing this, and yeah.
So I was working a very corporate job. I was doing government relations for a software company, and I was traveling quite a bit. So that's kind of where the traveling yarn came in. As I picked up knitting, because I was in hotels and airports alone quite a bit, I needed a hobby. But as I was traveling and knitting, I would always pick up yarn as I was traveling as a souvenir, just to remind me of the place where I traveled. And especially I noticed, because I got to visit so many lovely yarn shops, we just didn't have what I was looking for in Arizona. I couldn't find the brands, the fibers, the colors that I wanted. And so I decided to just do it myself. And it's funny because I said to my husband when I started, I don't know about this, because I feel like everybody that starts doing this, it just becomes their whole life. And surely that's what happened. So yeah, it's been a pleasure. We've been doing traveling yarn for about 5 years now, and we're in the process of exploring some new things as well.
You do a really good job of your yarns really do embody the environment that you're in. Can you tell us a little bit about how your favorite ways to get your inspiration, and how you go from, that's exactly what Sedona looks like, to a color?
Sure. I mean, it's hard to describe, because I think my process is just very much like I get a picture in my head and then I'm like, okay, what colors make that picture? And so I'll sit down with my colors and decide what it will be. the naming is actually the most difficult part. So once I have a colorway, sometimes we'll sit around or it'll sit on the table just kind of glaring at me like I need a name. But yeah, so it's definitely a process of inspiration. I had so many different interests as far as colors and variety of colors that I was interested in that we broke it up into 4 different collections. So we had the Creosote collection, which is more Arizona based. Think of desert vibes, sunrises, sunsets, those kinds of things. And then we have the Definition collection, which is more city based, so darker, colors that you might wear to the office. We also have the Enchantment collection, which is a little bit more in the herbal space, kind of like those mystical vibes, which I like quite a bit. And then lastly, we had the Outspoken collection, which is just like neons and bright, loud, in your face colors. So there was a place for me to put all of my inspiration depending on what came to me that day.
So like, I'm thinking of one you have that's called Nirvana Quartet. Would that go in the expressions?
That one's actually Enchantment, because I based that collection on a series of photographs of like 1950s, 60s beach.
Okay.
So it was very like just an enchanted vibe for me.
Because your names are really fun. And I like that idea of what you would wear to the office. Because when I did have an office job, I liked to wear my knitwear because it was kind of like taking it with me and all of that. But yeah, there was certainly a certain vibe about what could go into the office place.
Yeah, and more about practicalities. So
Yeah.
it makes
So what kind of, do you have any favorite samples you want to show us?
Sure, I do. I was going to add too, because it was funny. I was the one person who mentioned that I did stay at a Wigwam hotel, but I didn't. So apparently we have like a different Wigwam hotel, which I was aware of the TP style ones that are on Route 66, but we have something called the Wigwam Resort here in Arizona. So I've stayed there, which is different, but it's definitely like, they have outlets and things like that in the back.
More because they added the word resort, so they had to make it. They had to upgrade it.
Some outlets, yeah. Well, I brought along a copy of the handmade book and then a couple of samples that we have left. So we do still have these on our website if anyone's interested. And we did send most of the original samples back to the designers just because they wanted them to be able to keep their work. But we got to keep this one, which is the Footprints shawl. And it's just a really pretty cabled shawl. It's TK weight held with mohair. You could also make it without the mohair, but I just like the cozy softness. And she modeled it after cattle footprints. So this one was for the handmade book, as I mentioned. And so it was the theme of cattle. And the handmade book that we created, I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with Arizona or the concept, but the state seal of Arizona is designed around the 5 C's. So Arizona is known for copper, cattle, citrus, climate. What am I missing? Cotton, copper, cattle, citrus, and climate. And so we developed a section of the book for each of those 5 C's. And so we had designers submit their favorite designs or something that inspired them based on one of those 5 C's. So this one was for cattle. And then I mentioned that we also had climate. So this one was the Kayenta hat designed in our worsted base. And this one was for climate. She did both a brimmed version and a non-brimmed version. I really like slipping this one on just because I think it's really versatile. And then do you want me to show a few more samples or what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And tell us the weight of them, like what weight yarn?
Yeah, this one is worsted. This one is DK with mohair, but you could just do straight DK if you wanted to make it a little less warm. And then Jamie Hoffman of Knitosophy designed this rattlesnake sweater, which I'm sure quite a few of you have seen online. And this one is in our DK weight, which you can do either DK or tweed DK. And I just love the little saguaros. She actually did a textured pattern on the saguaros, so they're prickly, which I thought was a very cute addition. And then just the rattlesnake pattern there on the yoke. So I really like that one. I think this one can also be long sleeve or short sleeve, depending on your preference. And then we worked with Woolen Pine, who created the Hellbore cowl and hat that go together. Really pretty. And those featured our Enchantment collection colorways. And the last sample that I brought was our Paloma base, which we have a couple of bases that I worked to create that we custom mill. And so the Paloma base is one of those, which I know that you carry in the shop, Cadence. And this one is a silk and super high quality merino blend, which is just really silky and bouncy and beautiful. And this stock,
And is that,
go ahead.
Is that fingering or DK?
This one is fingering, but we also have a Paloma.
Yeah. And what's the name of that one? The yellow one?
This one is the Beanstalk Shawl, and it's by Baroque Pearls. If anyone wanted to-
All right. We will get the pattern. Can we find these on Ravelry
Yes.
also in addition to your book? Okay. All right, good. So we'll put the links up. Those are beautiful. That gold one, I got to make that one. Are you ready to tell us what the next chapter is?
Not quite. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
It's gonna be
So
I can tell you it won't be, it's not in the same industry. So it's a completely left field surprise.
So we have a lot of Sarah's yarns since we learned that Less Traveled Yarns may not be dying anymore. Sad to say. It is on her social media, I believe. So we have lots of it because as soon as we heard that, we just turned around and placed another double order. So hopefully we can keep it stocked for a while. Let's see, do we have some questions from the groupies over in here? Let's see, we've got Lori, who absolutely loves your yarn, Sarah, and then Sarah Kellers, make your hat.
That has to happen. Yeah. I love that
Yeah.
Sarah Williamson says she's always inspired to branch out into something different career-wise when she hears these inspiring stories. So that's pretty fun. Kara just bought the book.
Yeah, those are some beautiful patterns.
I love that you did that 5 C's theme for it. That's really, really special.
The concept.
Yeah,
is-
I never thought about Arizona and cotton. So that was really interesting to me.
yeah,
Mostly because of it as being in the South.
right. And there's something in the dyeing. I don't have the history that I could rattle off to you, but there is someone who specifically worked with the cotton in Arizona to come up with colored cotton. So it would grow with colors.
Mhm.
I don't remember her name, but she's pretty famous in the textile industry.
Mhm.
Wow, that's mind-boggling. Imagine the sheep with the color. I mean, I know they brown, but still. Wow, that's amazing. Well, Sarah, we really appreciate you dyeing those beautiful colors for us. The blue whale, which is a lot of fun, and then the rusty shoals or the rocky shoals for the bridge. It was just so lovely to work with it. And yeah, Renee's been making many things with her stash of Less Traveled Yarns too.
Well, I
So
love
thanks.
the inspiration photos you sent. I thought that blue whale was just perfect for spring.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. I had a hard
Yeah.
time to decide. The rules were I was supposed to pick one picture, but I couldn't. So thank you for going along. Yeah.
Work with whatever. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sarah.